All right, guys. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to do a video for my weekly podcast thing. Um, I decided I'm going to do a video once a week, just me talking, and then do the regular videos. So don't worry, those are still coming out. Me going over videos or going over comics. But I wanted to do a video on the comic book industry because we're in a very alarming place right now. And I'm a huge fan of comics, and I'm sure you are too if you're watching this video. And it's worrisome, the place that we're in, because we're at a point where, books like Batman aren't doing very well. I mean, I think it's selling on average like under 50,000 copies, which is not very good, obviously, when we're thinking about how there was once a time where comic books would sell hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of copies, if you want to go all the way back to the days of like Image, where sure, there was like a weird speculation boom or whatever, but collector's boom, but it's just, it's worrisome to me because I'm a huge comic book fan. I love comic books and I value comic books. I think they're a real legitimate medium. In fact, I think they're the best medium because they have art and literature combined. Sometimes the literature is not as good as it could be, but it's still an interesting medium to me. So I wanted to talk about why I feel like it's failing and how we can kind of hopefully, fingers crossed, get out of it. So one of the things that is very obvious is, we're not creating a new reader base, right? When I was a kid, you would go to the grocery store or you'd go to the drugstore and you'd get a comic book. It was there. You could see it. Your eyes would lock onto the artwork on the cover. You'd open it up and your life would be changed, right? It was a great way to entertain yourself. And that's no longer a thing. Now you have to physically go to a comic book shop, which I don't know if any of you have gone into a comic book shop recently. By the way, there's very few of them. They're not the nicest places in the world. Sometimes you get lucky and you'll get like a really nice comic book shop in your town, which, hey, lucky you. Me, not so much. They're not very pleasant places to go to. They're not very easy to get to. And when you get there, they don't have much stock. And they usually charge you like eBay prices. And it's like, well, why don't I just go buy it on eBay? Sometimes they charge you more. I remember going into a comic book shop. They had a random issue of like Conan the Barbarian. It was like $15. It had no significant first appearance or anything. It was just like this overpriced book. And then they had a bunch of Daredevil issues, like Frank Miller issues that were beat to shit. And they were like $20 a pop. I'm like, who would buy this? Who is going to experience this? Like, who's going to go to this comic book shop and be like, oh, I'm going to buy these beat up $20 issues or these issues of Daredevil done by Frank Miller that you can buy on eBay for $3 a pop, and this guy's charging $20. And I understand, we're hurting here in the economy, but I don't think we're hurting that bad that we need to charge that much for Frank Miller. And it wasn't like the first appearance of Elektra. It was just random Frank Miller issues. So it's not easily like available to people. And then you no longer have like the essentials, which were a great way to read comics. I mean, it was like American comic book version of manga. It was like, oh, I could read Spider-Man #1 all the way up to Spider-Man #27 or whatever for $14. That's great. Well, you can't do that anymore. You can buy these overpriced omnibuses that are $100, and if you go to cheapgraphicnovels.com and use the keyword vagina balls, you can save $2 off of your order. Who cares? Like, I don't want to spend. If I'm a first-time reader, I'm not going to spend $75 on an omnibus. And by the way, they can't even like print these things on time. I'm still waiting for Den Volume 2, which was supposed to come out November 2023. We are now in April 2024. Why are they not printing their books? Whatever. I'm going to veer off from that. But then we get into the thing where it's all about the movies, right? Oh, well, this new Marvel movie, this new DC movie. So what they do is they hire these people to create these comic books, and it's just essentially storyboards to make movies. Nobody cares about the movies. Literally, no one does. Even people who actually cared about the movies 2 years ago don't care about the movies anymore. They were successful at one point, and now they're dead, just like Westerns. Nobody cares. Stop making your material to be based upon how, something that you can use as an experiment to see if you can make a new movie out of it. It's just like so you can get cheap storyboard artists. And then they pay like people like Bill Sienkiewicz $5,000 to do a cover of a 1 in 1,000 variant for the collectors who put all their books in plastic and never read it, with a stupid number on top of it telling you that how valuable it is. And then the guy who's doing the interior is getting paid $150 a page to pencil and ink it. I mean, no wonder why the comic book industry is dying when you open these damn things up. I mean, have you seen them lately? They don't look very good. I mean, occasionally you'll get some good stuff. But if you want to get real serious stuff, I mean, you're going to have to go to the indies. You're going to have to go to the indie creators. Which, by the way, I love Death of Power. I think it's a great comic book. But how many comics would that guy be selling if it wasn't for cartoonist kayfabe and their following? Like, how many Death of Powers exist out there that cartoonist kayfabe didn't cover? And I don't know about, and you don't know about. And then, like, you want to become a comic book artist. Okay, where do you work? Because we don't have these little companies, these little indie companies that people used to work at to get themselves enough work, enough of a portfolio or experience to go work at Marvel and DC. So it's like, what do you do now if you want to become a creator? Oh, you got to make indie comics? Well, how do you sell comics? How do you become successful as an artist? And then if you want to go work at Image, which Todd McFarlane tries to get everybody to work at, Image won't touch you unless you've worked at Marvel or DC. So how the fuck do you make it? How do you even break into the industry as a creator? I couldn't even imagine trying to be a writer in comics. How would you even do that? I know they want you to work on a TV show. Well, how the fuck do you work on a TV show? They want to hire TV show writers to write comic books? What kind of world are we living in? And then we get into the fun part. Comic books are about politics now. Yep, we have two sides. We have Comicsgate and we have mainstream comics. And they are extreme. And if you are not with one or the other, you are an enemy. If you're just like me who goes, I just want to read comics. No. You're not allowed here. You have to be on one side or the other. And they both just go, well, it's just about the comics. No, it's not. On one side, it's like a never-ending QVC or Home Shop Network commercial, and they look at you as a dollar sign. Or on the other side, you're a freedom fighter. And if you're not a freedom fighter, you're this and that, and you're this bad thing, and you're that bad thing. And then you get canceled, and we all saw what happened with Ed Piskor. I mean, it's just absurdity. I mean, can we just, I think back to the days, the first time I was 12 years old, and I opened up Dark Knight Returns. And my life was changed. I had never experienced anything like that. And the moment I read through that book, I said to myself, I have to become a comic book creator. I want to become a comic book creator, and I have to become a comic book creator. I didn't care about what Frank Miller's political views were. I had no care in the world. I had no idea. All I cared about was, man, I just experienced something that was otherworldly and something I probably will never experience again. I'll never experience that same feeling again. And I didn't care about what his political views were. Now, you're just sold trash because you're a fucking dollar sign. Or You're an experiment for what they're going to put on the screen in 15 years. Who cares? Why can't we just make comics? And that's why manga is so successful, is because it's just about making comics. And they have, people who work under them, and they teach them how to do the trade really well, and then they move off and they do their own stuff. That doesn't exist anymore. We don't have those days of continuity studios working under Neil Adams. Okay, I know Skybound was supposed to be something for like comic book writers and creators, and now it's just like whoever I like and who are my friends, I'll print their books. And then everything's political. Why do we have to make everything political? Why can't we just make things simple? Why can't we just make things about comic books? The art of telling stories through sequential art. The greatest fucking medium in the world. It's not valued by many people, especially not now. But that market is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And there are kids who are reading manga. There are teenagers who are reading manga, and there are adults who are reading manga. But find a fucking comic book reader? Shit. You probably got a better chance of finding a fucking unicorn. I mean, they don't exist. And the reason why they don't exist is because they've been alienated, and they don't want to do it anymore. They don't want to take part in it anymore. I love drawing. I love reading comics. I like reading the classics. But man, I would love some new stuff. I would love a new great Spider-Man run, a new Batman run. I would love, a great Image book that is, I want to find these books. I don't want them to be hidden behind some Kickstarter that does $1,500 and sells 50 copies. That's not the way we should live in this industry. People should be making comics, and it should be selling at least tens of thousands, and everybody should be getting their eyes on the best stuff. But I don't know. That's just me. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think I'm a crazy person? I think we just got to get it on the eyes of all age groups. We got to treat those people with respect. We got to put effort and make sure there's some kind of quality control. And we got to stop thinking about what the next movie is, and for the love of fucking Crom, just create creators. Create some kind of farm system where these people can start small and move big, because if you have creators, you have readers, you have a fan base, because you never know where that new thing is going to come out that's going to inspire something else. There are a lot of movies that came out that people didn't even know were based off of comic books. So you can live in that Hollywood world too, but let's make the comics good. But that's just one man's opinion.